meet them again. But would you like to? How do you build trust?
I mean, I think working on stuff together. I don't know that there's a shortcut to it. And you know, if someone is really, when you first meet them, they're really concerned about getting all the details of the arrangement in place first. In my experience, that's the sign that they're insecure about their competence. And I think good partners realize that they're going to be able to bring a lot to the table, and will kind of, you know, be loose about it for a little bit while you figure out whether or not it's going to work out. So, at least in my experience.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I would add just one thing real quickly, which is meet their families. No, I'm serious. You learn more about someone. I've had the pleasure of meeting both their families. They're the most amazing families, and that tells you a lot about how they're going to treat their partners. If their kids are, you know, running around in your house and breaking your glasses, it's probably a good sign of the person who raised them. And so you learn a lot. It's funny, but it's true.
No, it is true. In fact, we always, when we're hiring CEOs, we want to meet the spouse, because the spouse is going to have to put up with the 24/7 nature of the business, and you know, that's something that you got to make sure. You don't want to break up a family over business, and too many people have done that. You know, we try not to.
Actually, if you like to bring lunch with those three gentlemen, put your business card in there if you haven't already. So Tobin is going to take it around, so you have some more chance. Any more questions? The question is how to set some ground rules, and what if it doesn't work out? What do you do?
I don't know, the way I look at it is, if it doesn't work out, you've just had an incredibly valuable learning experience, and you move on. You know, maybe one person keeps the business plan at any progress, and one person doesn't. But if you don't do that, you've just dedicated years to your life to a bad relationship that's going to end up in no value creation. So I would rather work a month on helping build a business plan, or finding some potential customers, or developing some code, and then realize that the relationship wasn't going to work, and walk away. So I think again, you don't need to be like, oh, how are we going to divide it up if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, there's nothing to divide up. No value will be created unless there's chemistry there.
Great, thank you.
I think there is a real. The other real question is, you know, you've gotten somebody you brought in as a partner, and the relationship isn't working, but they're excited about the idea too. So you split up, and they start to try to do the same idea with their own twists to it. And that is a problem. And we haven't seen that very often, I think. But yeah, it's come up. So it does happen occasionally. Again, you know, execution being the critical factor in most of these things. They don't usually both work anyway.
You know, I'll say it very bluntly, which is, you know, and this will kill my dating process, but I believe in prenups. I mean, if you're going to go down the road with someone, it's a big deal. I mean, shareholder rights agreements are very well important for the investors, I think, but also really the ground rules about what you've got going on. They're unbelievably complex. Usually you have to, you know, the smart ones say one person will vote all the shares so that you never have political disruption, but you better trust that person. And there are also these ground rules around how that works. So, you know, I will say all the companies we invest in, we're very, before we even talk to them, we want to know there's a shareholder rights agreement, what are these rules on it. Also, for whatever reason, founders of this whole thing, we're like, we'll figure out who's CEO later, you know, which is like, you know, that was really weird. They run away. But you know, you raised the single biggest question. You'll find out if you've got a partner if you can talk about the hard questions first. If you can't talk about the hard questions before there's any value, you guys should not work together. I mean, that is like a bad formula for not a good experience.
And by the way, one thing that Steve asked us we insist on prenups in a different, slightly different sense, which is we tend in our term sheets to insist that whoever the spouse is sign a voting agreement so that the founder is the one who gets to vote all the shares, because if there is a divorce and that spouse ends up with a lot of shares in the company, we really don't want the bitterness that may accompany those divorces to destroy the company in the process.
Yeah, just to clarify, before you take investment, you have to have all those details worked out with your co-founder, and it can get quite complex. It can also be very telling about your co-founder. So in no way was I saying that you don't need to do that. I'm just saying up front, early, your idea is probably going to change. You're learning about each other, and the chance of the chemistry working, you creating value, and both parties being confident is low compared to the headache of first things get the agreement in place. We first worry about those other three bigger issues. Do you work well together?
I would make one point. If you find a great partner, there's nothing better. Right? I've had at least 3 in my career. I had Jim Simons when we started Renaissance Technologies, and Bill Gross when we started IdeaLab, and Josh with First Round. And there's nothing better than to work with somebody where there's tremendous mutual respect, where they have the intelligence and drive and so on. And so if you really do want to spend the time trying to find those people.
Thank you very much. We'll quickly go around, pick 2 minutes for the lunches. Would you like to pick your lunch person?
Lane Halley.
Please find each other afterwards.
Thomas Keller, he's going to take the old. Vinay Pai.
Okay, Cupid CTO, ex-CTO. Good choice. I'm not saying dating.
Benjamin Hogan.
Okay, great. And now the doorstop. 2 free books on location-based services. If you don't want 10, don't say you want 10 right now. 10 later in private. Okay, new music exchange.
Right here.
Right, great. It's not very location-based, but I hope it's kind of useful. And the second one is MTV, Neil Gladstone. So expect some location-based services from MTV soon. Great. I'll find you after this. And we can have a little break right now, 5 minutes. After this, Tobin, who's helping us. And by the way, Tobin is running another event called the Feedback Forum, which is an excellent event. 20 people, peers, sit down and they analyze a startup. So I highly recommend you guys attend that event. And Tobin is going to help us with the 30-second pitches. So people who signed up on the list, please come towards this area. So we're going to try to make it very quickly. And afterwards, you can just drink and have fun. And by the way, I'd like to thank Drom and Nachi. Nachi, would you like to just come up here for 1 minute? Nachi is also a fellow entrepreneur, and they are very accommodating by hosting our event here. So I just like to have him talk a little bit.
Thank you, Russ. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming here. As a fellow entrepreneur, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to Drom. This is a venture that I started with a few partners. So I know about the difficulties of finding partners and sticking with them and making something worthwhile. But we've got a great bar, so good luck with finding a partner and good luck with your businesses. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank our speakers. It was very useful.